Level 64 present. A Playguide and video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hey, once again, welcome to another Lemon 64 play guide and review. In this week's show, we'll be checking out 1985, The Day After, developed by Severin Software and published by Mastertronic in 1985. The title screen is very basic indeed, so let's just press that fire button and check this game out. In 1985, the day after, we take control of what looks like a lunar command module, and we have to navigate that thing first of all outside of our command post, which is not very easy, and then having made it, we have to avoid a flying saucer and collide with one of these 4 moons, which we have to fly to and pick up all the energy pods on each moon. Each pink energy pod will take some time to align, and once we have done so, we can then press the fire button to instigate our grabbing mechanism, and that will grab the item, and that will also give us some fuel. And yes, we have to put up with an array of very dodgy sound effects on the planet, and that is apparently the noise of all these sentry guns, which will fire towards us if we hang around in the same spot. So we'll have to avoid those bullets as well as avoid crashing into that landscape, and sometimes that's easier said than done. By pulling our controller left and right, or pressing those redefinable keys, that will rotate our spacecraft, and by pushing forward, that will give us forward thrust. So just like the game Thrust, we'll have to pick up a number of items, and as you can see, now that we've cleared this landscape, we can simply fly off and fly to our next destination. "1985 is definitely a game of patience, and if you don't have that patience, well, you'll simply crash and die. We only get the 3 lives you can see on the score counter at the bottom, and you can see level 1. There are actually 8 levels in this game, but when you reach level 8, that will simply loop back to level 7, and levels 2 all the way through to 8 are identical, as we shall see a little bit later. The collision detection is spot on, so you have to actually get killed the legitimate way by crashing and colliding with these things, and if you don't, well, hopefully you can get away with it. And yes, you can get away with blind luck sometimes playing this game, when you can simply avoid those bullets and they disappear after a while, and if they collide with the landscape, they'll disappear as well. Grabbing a moment's peace and quiet, we get the sombre terrain of the next landscape, which is quite easy, and if you've cleared the others, well, this one is rather much easier, and you can navigate those things and collide with the item on an angle, so you don't have to be directly above it. You can attack that thing on the diagonal, but it's so much easier if you can align those items, and then it saves us pulling off too many risky maneuvers. Unfortunately, I have no idea who coded this game, who did the graphics, and, well, who did the music. There is no music in this game, so it won't have a music credit. And I wish there was music in this game, because that would have been actually better than these sound effects. Seven Software were named after the River Severn in the UK, and they were based in Lindley in Gloucestershire. They also distributed soft gold titles including Thermonuclear War Games in 1984 and Mystery of Monroe Manor, which appeared also in 1984. This was their final game, which they sold to Mastertronic, which they then sold to you for $1.99. This is the final planet, this is the fourth planet, and all we have to do is to collect these last 4 items, and hopefully we can leave and exit on to the next level. And this may be the hardest of the 4, so maybe it's best to tackle this last. And you can see we still have all the lives in the world and all the fuel as well, so this game looks difficult, but it's actually quite easy if you have the patience to avoid the pixels in the landscape. Sometimes getting out of that command base is the hardest job, because you just want to rush in and get on with where you left off, and luckily it doesn't reset all the energy modules and all the energy pods on those planets, so when we return we should find whatever we've collected is now already collected. I remember playing this game quite a lot back in the day, and yes, it is very simple, but sometimes simple games are quite addictive. Just like Space Invaders, you can't get much more simple than that. This variation on the thrust theme is addictive, and it doesn't really give the player too much to think about. It certainly doesn't give the player a huge manual to read. All they have to do is to fly around and collect all these pods, and that's all the game is. So it really isn't hard to figure out. Players can just dive on in there and test out their skills. After the final item has been collected, you will be given absolutely no indication of that whatsoever. But if we now choose to exit this planet, we'll be teleported onto the second scenario, which is a bonus stage, which we have to complete in order to get to the next level. You can see at the end of the bonus stage is a green and red crystal which flashes, and that's just another item that we have to collect, and all we have to do is to navigate quite an easy tunnel, and the only difficult part is that we will be fired upon at random, and sometimes the best attack measure is to wait until those things are firing, because they cannot fire having fired. So it's the art of weaving in amongst bullets once again, and trying to get our way towards that prize. At this stage it is very easy to mess this up, and I really am sweating playing this even after all these years, and sweating all over the controller is not the right thing to do, because sometimes you can slip your fingers off it and that's game over. But luckily we have collected now our item. So just a small matter of exiting this labyrinth, and then we move on to level 2. On level 2, the gravity is 100% reversed, and so instead of drifting down, we'll be drifting upwards, and that means that we'll have to fire our thrusters downwards if we want to collect anything, and maybe turn around at the last moment. And this, as you can imagine, is very difficult indeed. After all of this, it looks very simple, but it now becomes very tricky after this section. It's very satisfying to jet onto a new level. We'll be given an extra life, and also the message that we are now entering a negative gravity area. And that means we'll have to play the game all over again, only this time with reverse gravity. And as I say, when you get to the 8th level, it is simply the same as this one. And the game then returns back to level 7 to complete that all over again. So this game can be looped forever. I think the graphics are functional for 1984. They certainly won't win any prizes, not with Rescue on Fractalus around at the same time. But they did try, and for a $1.99 budget game, this is fun, and it might give you some idea of gravity as well. You can't really mess around with gravity, and this game, this is definitely harder than Thrust, even though it looks easier on the surface, because of that reverse gravity mechanic. This easy but hard difficulty level meant the magazines give this game a very mixed opinion of itself, and your Commodore gave this 20% in April 1985. The current Lemon 64 score is 53%. Commodore Horizons gave this 70%. Your Computer gave this 80%, as well as Home Computer Weekly with another 80%. Personal Computer Games gave 1985 90%, and Commodore User actually gave this 5 out of 5, which is 100% in February 1985. So with such a vast array of scores, many players like this, many hate it, but I always have respect for this game, and it's great that we can actually type our name into that high score table. So thank you very much for watching another play guide and review. It's a nice game, and I do have respect for this, and I hope to see you again in another play guide sometime soon. Thank you.